You ready? Action.
I always wondered if the other little girls around me were dirty or nasty or were they being touched too. I didn't realize that it wasn't a normal thing. So life went on after that, and I kind of buried that. And so this is what people talk about, picking up luggage along the way. I guess this was my first suitcase. And this wasn't a carry-on bag, this was a suitcase. Shit was huge. So I move on and I go to school, and I was born in January, so where I'm from, you have to be 5 to go to school. But they taught me how to read when I was 3. And my mom wanted me to go to school, so she told them that I was 5 and somehow or another got me into kindergarten. And I was already reading, so they put me in 1st grade. And then when I got to 1st grade, I was advanced, so they put me in 2nd grade. So there I already skipped almost 2 grades. And then they built a school for kids that were advanced called Edward Kilpatrick. And it didn't have windows, and I had to walk there. And I don't know, I hid behind the fact that Kimmy was smart, that Kimmy could read and that Kimmy could spell. And, you know, not until I became an adult did I realize that I couldn't add. I now know it's called dyscalculia, so I call myself an idiot savant. But anyway, my grandmother went bowling the night she left me home with my grandfather. She was a bowling fanatic, and she had a little bowling team, and they would all go bowling. And one of her best friends, Miss Bessie, had a grandson named Lenny, and he got put in the school with me, and we were good friends. So he would come down the street in the morning and meet me, and he and I would walk down the street, and we would pass my aunt and uncle's house that was further down the road, and we would walk to Edward Kilpatrick today. And I would get bullied in school. I was an only child, and I was dark skinned with long hair. I would get bullied, and I was afraid to fight at that time. That story will change. That story's gonna change. So one morning, and Lenny was the closest thing I had to a friend, because they didn't allow me to go out and play with the other kids much. I don't know why. I never asked why. They didn't let me go out and play with the other kids a lot. But Lenny and I were close, and we would talk and we would walk to school together. And then one morning, I was on my way out to meet Lenny, and my grandmother stopped me. And I could look at her face and tell something was wrong, but I didn't really know what. But I was like, Lenny's waiting. I gotta go, Nana, school. And she said, no, Kimmy, you wait. And so I heard a lot of noise. Woo, 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 whoop, whoop, whoop. I heard it all. And my grandmother went down, and I saw Miss Bessie downstairs, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm looking down the street, and they wouldn't let me outside. And I waited till they got down the street, and I ran outside. And I ran down the street and I saw the body covered. Remember now, I'm in the 3rd grade, and I'm already younger than everybody else, so I would say I was probably 7. Lenny had come to meet me and wanted to go to the store or something first, and a man that had been out drinking all night hit him and dragged him 2 blocks down the street and killed him. Another suitcase. First time that I lost someone since my father. It was hard for me because I had to walk to Edward Kilpatrick every day by myself. And I had to walk past that spot where Lenny lay dead at 8 years old. Who would ever think that I would become a drunk myself? He dragged Lenny down the street and killed him and took away his life. And I think my grandmother told me that they gave him 2 years or something like that. They hadn't come out with the drunk driving laws way back then. But Lenny was gone, and I still had to go on. So I had a teacher named Miss Emilo that became a friend of our families, and she loved me. And at the time, I could do anything I wanted in school, but I could not sit still, and I could not stop talking. So I'd have all these S's, and then when it got to behavior, I'd have a U. And we couldn't put that all together back then. But it was because my innocence had been stolen, and I needed a way out of this prison that I had built in my mind as a child. So my mother had gone back to her ex-boyfriend from high school named Al, and when he started touching me, he would put his fingers in his mouth and then put them in my vagina, and as soon as my mother would leave the room, he would do these things to me. And at this time, I'm confused because I don't know if this is supposed to happen or not. I'm just starting to think this is what men do to you. I'm a kid, I'm 9. So when my mother would leave the room, I'd try to leave the room with her. And he would find an excuse to keep me in the room. And if you talk to people that have experienced sexual abuse and molestation or incest, whatever you want to label it, having sex or being made to act in a sexual manner against your will, they start to think that the confusion sets into your mind and you don't know if you enjoy it or if it feels good or feels bad. There's so many things that you go through. It's like a tornado. You start at the top and it starts spiraling down, and you don't know where you're ever going to end up. And my mom and them would go out at night, and they would send me to across the hall. We lived in Newark at the time, and they would send me to Winnie's house, and she had these girls, and they would play these sex games. They ranged in age from 16 to my age. So I was in the 5th grade at this time, so now I'm 9. And please always remember that I'm steady trying to keep up with the older kids, because they skip me, and that puts you in a precarious situation. Because even though your mind is not there, your body's there, and you have to keep up with the older kids. So you're always pretending to be something you're not. I'm pretending to be a 5th grader, but I'm really a 3rd grader. I'm pretending to be clean, but I'm really filthy. I'm pretending to be pure. But I've been touched so much. Give me a minute. So now we're playing these sex games, and they're hunching on each other, and they're hunching on me, and they want to, who's going to go next, and who's going to lick on who, and I don't know what's going on. All I know is that I don't want to be here, but I can't go home because nobody's there, and they're supposed to be watching me. But they have been doing this for years, and now I'm the new victim, and they're going to see how I react. It's like an experiment. Let's see how Kim's going to react to us having sex with her. So that was my first experience with having sex with another individual, another female. 9 years old. I'm 9. So the promiscuity in my mind, I believe, started at about 9 or 10. And I go to middle school at Redshaw in New Brunswick, New Jersey, because my mother didn't want to live in New York. She didn't want to live in Newark. And my mother could pack a house in a day. I've never seen anything like it. If she decides she wanted to leave someone or move, and she would pack that shit up and be gone. And it always bothered me. That's why I hang on. I cling on to homes now. Like I will not pack a house because I don't want to leave. I have to have something that's my own, some stability in my life, because I didn't have any. So when I was 11, my mom had gotten this great new job, and we moved again, and I was in middle school, 11 years old. Remember, my innocence is stolen, and I'm pretending to be a 7th grader, and I'm 11 years old. And I started playing the violin, and the teachers always loved me and everything, but then this guy named Wade from the projects got his eye on me, and he was determined to get to me. And I didn't know any better. I didn't know, not to talk to him and not to let him follow me home. And so one day he followed me home and raped me. And at the time I didn't know it was rape. I just thought he forced himself on me, and I kept saying no, and it hurt a lot and it bled. And of course I didn't tell anybody. Why tell anybody? Nobody's going to believe me anyway. So about 5 months later, I got really, really sick. I mean, really sick. And I had the same pediatrician all my life, Dr. Scheinfeld. And he diagnosed me with sickle cell anemia. I had the trait. And, I was allergic to milk as a child. And there was a lot of things. Dr. Scheinfeld had followed me my entire childhood life. So when I got sick, they took me to the hospital, and I was throwing up uncontrollably, and I had a fever, and Dr. Scheinfeld said, I can't find anything wrong with her. So he admitted me to the hospital. So after being there for almost a day, with my mother and my grandmother there, and finally my Uncle Ty came, an intern said, has anybody given her a pregnancy test? And I'm thinking in my mind, I know what happened to me, but I didn't tell anybody, and I can't be pregnant. And my mom's going, she's 11. And so the intern, against Dr. Scheinfeld's best judgment, gave me a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant. And immediately the room froze. When I say the room froze, the room froze. Everyone stopped talking to me. Nobody talked to me. My mother stopped talking to me. My grandma, Dr. Scheinfeld walked out, and I haven't seen that man since. He took an oath. The Hippocratic Oath means no matter what, you're supposed to care for me. He walked out and never came back. And I understand that today, we're talking about the 70s, that things are different today than they were then. That my head was heartbroken, and nobody really asked me what happened at the time. My mom knew, found out later, but they all talked around me for days after, and they decided that I would have an abortion. And the next thing I knew, my stepfather was dropping me off at an abortion clinic in Montclair, New Jersey, and two ladies took care of me, and they left me there, and they tried to talk to me to tell me what was going to happen, and I could hear them talking around me saying, this is a child. And then they put me to sleep, and when I woke up, they were pulling 2 tampons out of me. And I sat in the lobby, and my stepfather picked me up. And we all went off to this little restaurant called the Caboose and ate cheeseburgers like nothing ever happened. When something happened, I lost my innocence forever that day. There was no chance of returning. There's no comeback from that. Nobody explained anything to me. Nobody told me that I could recover from this, that there was no therapy, there was nothing but cheeseburgers. And it's strange that cheeseburgers became my favorite food to eat, my comfort food. I became very promiscuous after that. I didn't let anybody penetrate me, but I did start letting them touch me and kiss me, and we would shovel snow, and you shovel, when the snowstorm comes, you go out with your shovel and you shovel snow, you shovel people's driveways, and it was something fun to do. And I remember one time we were up shoveling the rich people's driveways, and this guy that liked me, he wanted to have sex with me and I wouldn't, and he hit me in the back with a shovel. Just hit me in my back with a shovel. Like, you ain't gonna let me do that, I'm gonna do this to you. And I went home and I told my uncle. And I don't know what happened to him, but I know it wasn't nice. I know it didn't end pretty for him at all. I come from a family of real strong people. And so I told you that my story was I was bullied. That's why I hate bullies. I hate bullies. I would jump in anything. If a dog is scrapping, I'm jumping in it. I don't like bullies because they bullied me so much. And my mother told me, she said, you come here crying one more damn day, and I'm going to whoop your ass. And I think that's probably the worst thing she could have told me, because I've been fighting and scrapping ever since. I've been fighting all my life. I've been fighting all my life for one thing or other. Sometimes I just want to give up, and I think that's where the suicide attempts came in. So after that, I discovered alcohol. And alcohol dulled the pain. It made it go away. I didn't have to think about how much I had been touched and abused, and how worthless I was. The self-loathing, self-hate, the denial. All those things went away when I could drink some Brass Monkey or some blackberry brandy, or my mom and them would bring home rum from the islands, and they would just let me sit on the couch and drink it. And my mom passed me one day, she said, you're gonna be an alcoholic. But she didn't say stop drinking, or you better not touch that again. She didn't say that. We're islanders, people drink. And I drank and I drank and I drank. And then I went to high school, and I started letting guys sleep with me. I wanted a boy. I wanted somebody to love me. But I wasn't taught anything. I wasn't taught how to interact with men. I wasn't taught how to build a relationship. I wasn't taught anything. All I was taught was how the sexual prowess of the results of being molested over and over again. So I didn't have any skills of actually building relationships. And it's sad because I have so much love to give, and I don't know how to manifest it. I'm just learning today at 50 how to get things together in my head, how to love myself, and through therapy and my psychologist giving me the right medications. See, when traumatic experiences happen, things happen in your brain. So a traumatic experience releases endorphins like dopamine and serotonin, and that's what causes the bipolar disorder and the ADHD and all the other things that we suffer from, and left untreated, I mean, people choose to treat them in different ways. I'm so glad that I found out what was wrong with me. Excuse me. Well, I started to go visit my father's family in St. Petersburg, Florida, because I wanted to know my family, and my mom wanted me to know them too. And the first summer that I visited there, my brother, my half-brother, we don't call each other halves. My father had some other children, and I'm glad that I had them in my life. My brother raped me in the back of an 18-wheeler truck, and all I could remember was looking at my cousins in the front of the truck and wondering why nobody's stopping him. Why isn't anybody doing anything about this? And when it was finished, I could remember just having wet stains, and I just rolled over and I cried. And I didn't tell anybody that. Even after getting into recovery and trying to work a fourth step, I could never work a thorough fourth step because I couldn't tell anybody that my brother raped me and left me cum-stained in the back of an 18-wheeler truck. Then I found cocaine. And my life has never been the same. And if you do any studies on the people that sit in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, you will find men or women, 85 to 90% of them have been sexually abused. 85 to 90% of the people that sit in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous have been sexually abused. So there is a direct correlation between sexual abuse and assault and addiction. It will change the course of your life. But I'm here to tell you that no matter what obstacles you have encountered in your life, no matter what path you have come down, you can recover and you can excel. One of the things that happened to me as a direct result of my inner child issues is my risk-taking behaviors were through the roof. I had the fear factor didn't exist in me. Somehow or another it got lost. And so I started committing crimes on a federal level. So I went to Spelman College at 15, and I went to the federal penitentiary at 30. So there's no balance there. I've been to the federal penitentiary 3 times. I have 3 federal felonies, and today I have a relationship with the federal government that's unbelievable. It's because they knew that something in my mind was better than the acts that I was committing, and they nurtured that. And I allowed them to, because I believe that I never got arrested, I got rescued. I did not get arrested, I got rescued. And through the grace of God and the favor and mercy that He bestowed upon me, He saw something in me to save me. And He said, every judge that I had the same judge, Judge Purnell, said, I'm not going to send her to prison because there's something worth saving in her. And I am grateful for that. So now I do God's work. And through the Power Panel, I help women speak up and use their voices to free themselves from bondage. You are not your story. Your story is not your shame. Your story is your fame. There's somebody out there suffering right now that thinks that because they were touched, used and abused and served like hell, all these years they've been keeping it a secret. Speak up. Use your voice. Your truth is in the telling. I said the truth is in the telling, because once you tell on a secret, it is no longer a secret, and it cannot keep you in bondage. Free yourself.